Welcome back. Well, global business leaders are holding a summit in Monroe for small businesses who find it hard to get investments. Kenya Ross is here with more on what they're doing. Kenya?
Yes, Jennifer, a foundation that focuses on providing minority and Black businesses with the resources to succeed in the communities is hosting a two-day summit. The One Foundation gathered national and international business leaders for its very first Horizon Global Agriculture Investment Summit at the Clark and Williams Innovation Campus. The summit began today, and members of the foundation say a large part of the event will teach business owners how to sustain their businesses using technology to reach broader markets.
The other elements of conversations were pertaining to how do we bridge further Africa and the United States when it comes to agriculture. A key element that people tend to forget often is Africa's size of Africa's middle class is close to 300 million people.
The foundation says they're trying to fund and build the next generation of businesses in the agricultural industry.
Whenever I say agriculture, people typically think row crop or capex equipment, and agriculture is in everything and it's everywhere. Everything that you're wearing is ag, everything that you eat is ag. When you look at this camera, you have pigments and oils that's coming from animal fats. You have so many creatives that's in that process as well.
The chairman of the foundation is from Northeast Louisiana and sees the area's high potential for innovation in agriculture.
But I do understand and appreciate the fact that there's a need and opportunities that exist in the area. Agriculture is a good place to build things, but there needs to be a collaboration between different groups to link together workforce development, business partnering, and innovation.
And the summit will continue tomorrow.